school, and but I never really like kind of like dive deep into it. You know what I mean? And my dad had told me a little bit about it, but so I just started researching, and then I found out that you had written a book, and I found it at the public library, and I read it in one sitting 2 days ago. And man, I was just like, I like text Mr. Plummer, and I was like, "Have you ever met this guy?" I was like, "I gotta meet him. I gotta talk to him." So he got me your information, and yeah. So I mean, if you could just tell me a little bit about your experience,
Well,
living
I'll
through
certainly
it,
be
or
able to. The experience is wide and broad, but if you tell me specifically what you need to know, I will certainly fill you in the best I can.
yeah. So I mean, like, what was the feeling like? I read the book, and I read how you specifically said, like, down south there was like a lot of racism at the time, but you really said that you know it wasn't overt racism in Plainfield. Like, you didn't feel it, and I read that how you talked about, you have, white friends, and but like
Sure.
once it happened, like the riot, like, what was the feeling? Where did you live when it happened in the town? And like, what was like the how did you feel? Was it scary? Was it?
Well, there's like so many thoughts to go through my head, but let me start by saying, how long have you lived in the Plainfield area?
So my family is born and raised here. I'm born and raised here. Excuse me. My family has been here for 100 years. Big family,
So,
the Cox family. I grew up on the East End. But I lived on the West End for a little bit, but like more towards South Plainfield. So I know Plainfield like the back of my hand. Yeah.
so that's a good start because a lot of people don't know what Plainfield is and the area around it. You visited Westfield.
Yes.
You know what that looks like.
Yes.
That was something three times the size of that and better than that. And that's what Plainfield was when I was growing up.
Wow.
Plainfield had three movie theaters, all in that downtown area. Um, Fur stores, hat stores. The wealthy people of the Sleepy Hollow area came to Plainfield. There were no malls as we understand them. And shopping at your home was the thing to do. And so over the history of Plainfield, um, the history actually started when wealthy people from New York, this was before the airplane, they wanted a resort or a place to go. And they liked going to the shore, but Plainfield was on the train tracks, 30 minutes from New York, and it was considered a resort town. So wealthy people influenced the building of the schools. The fire department on Central Avenue
Yes.
is the second largest on the West Coast when it was built. The reason there's elevated trains in Plainfield because the president of one of the railway lines lived in Plainfield. There's a long list of these things as to why it was named the Queen City, and it had so much growth. And you lived in that, and when you were a kid, you didn't realize all of that. It's just that Plainfield was a very pleasant and safe place to live. Um, I had friends that were black, and I had one kid that was Hispanic, but I didn't know he was Hispanic. And that's just how it was. All the teachers were white. It's just the way it was. It was, television only had 7 channels, and all the shows were white families and white cowboys. It's just the way it was. So I didn't even question it. There was no questioning until the black experience of Black and I'm Proud and these type of things. And then you start waking up and saying, oh, my goodness, Kirby is white and Ronald is black. And I didn't realize that until I was in 7th grade, as crazy as that might sound. But then again, our whole culture was different. Nobody said the word pregnant. If somebody was having a child, you were saying they're having a child or they're bearing fruit. That's how crazy it was. But it was normal. So you went to school with this extreme normalcy of being around white kids. They were the majority of kids here. You had all the things you wanted. It was peaceful. But as I got to be a teenager, I did notice certain things that were imbalanced. But it still didn't bother me. I would ride my bike through black neighborhoods, like I mentioned in the book, and kids were playing basketball and nothing else because there was nothing else. And I would go to the white neighborhoods and there would be swimming pools and tennis and whatever. And I didn't think anything of that because for me, that was alien. My family never went to the shore or never thought about tennis. My parents wouldn't even know what that is. So I didn't miss anything. But you couldn't help. I think I was more, instead of being involved, I was like a moving video camera. I observed things as I was going along. Like all my friends were made to me like movie stars. And so I was videotaping life, and I couldn't help but hear Martin Luther King and see this horror on television. Lived through the death of John F. Kennedy, which I still don't think I'm over for. That's another book that actually I wrote some time ago. And then Malcolm X died. And then you have a riot here and a riot there. And then you start thinking something's not quite right. And then your friends are starting to become militant. I remember Billy Chambers and some of the others who were, I will say, normal. That's not a fair word, but normal. And all of a sudden they became angry. And I realize now they were smarter than most people. They, even though they're the same age, they were far more mature, or their parents were informing them, or they had a better outlook on life. And that's all it was for a while until that riot. The riot caused psychologically, I would call it a cognitive dissonance, in which instead of everything is fine now, everything's now this. Instead of just saying, hello, Greg, hello, Marilyn, it's like, should I talk to them? Will they talk to me? Because the white folks, I think, were tremendously insulted by the riots. And this is not racist at all, but this is just the way I saw it. They thought, in retrospect, we live in a town with good little Negroes. They behave themselves. They're not like Newark, and they're not like Watts or whatever. And when the riots came and destroyed parts of Plainfield and killed the policemen, they instantly became nervous.
Oh.
Maybe Leroy is not Leroy. He's now angry Leroy. Tiffany is not Tiffany. She's now angry Tiffany. And they didn't know how to take that at all. They had invested in Plainfield. Most of the kids that went to school there, their parents owned shops that were in Plainfield. And I know many of the kids. They were mainly Jewish kids, and they had furniture stores. There was 3 stores that were the equivalent of Macy's. There was a Macy's in Plainfield. And all their kids, the diamond stores, the jewelry stores, all the butcher stores, all their kids went to Plainfield High School. That was an elite school. It was like the 2nd or 3rd best school in the whole state. So instead of this comfortable, almost preppy-like school, you're now walking by people who are hostile to it. And the black kids saw a white skin, and that meant, I hate you too, because now I realize what you've done to me. Remember, black history was never taught in school. But little pieces and things, you mean 400 years of slavery? We actually had a doctor that did that. We had a person that did this, and nobody told us. Everything just became hostile. That's the best way I can put it. And you didn't trust anybody anymore. And then, personally, the school riots had more impact on me than the city riots. The city riots were bad, but I was still a teenager. I saw all of these things, but I dealt with my kids and friends in school. And seeing little white kids who I went to school with since Barlow School now huddle up in little groups and they don't talk to you. And the black kids huddling up in groups and they don't talk anymore. See, I was like the little nerdy kid. I wasn't one of the jocks and I wasn't one of the rich kids. I was just a little poor nerdy kid. So I didn't particularly belong to a group except my other nerdy friends. So I saw these little cliques and things and watch how they were so much together at one point and now totally distant. Something that, again, kids don't do today. But you used to go to your friend's house to play records. This was social stuff. Come over to my house and we'll play some records. So they would play whatever it is. The white kids would play James Brown. The black kids would play the Beatles. And everybody would dance and talk and drink a little bit. And that's how you socialize with your friends. Or you get on the phone and call up somebody and share the phone. You have to share the phone with everybody in the house. Something you don't hear anymore, like, Brandon, come down. The phone's for you.
Yeah.
Everybody has a phone now. Or get off the line. I want to make a phone call. All part of life in the 60s. And the riot, it wasn't a cancer. It was a bullet. It wasn't something, maybe it was cancerous how it crept up on us. But in a sense of impact, it wasn't like overnight. It was instant. Like, it changed things immediately. And then once the school riot, once the white families felt that their kids were not safe in Plainfield schools, that was known as the white flight. Within the next 2 years, these people just started moving out. They had the money, they had the ways and means, and they start moving to towns that were undeveloped at the time, like Greenbrook, Edison. Edison was part jungle. Other places, Tom's River, didn't have one high school or just one. Now it has 4. Where do you think all these kids came from? And so businesses that kept the community thriving allowed us to have the big schools, police departments, hospital. Plainfield's hospital was one of the class of students. They started moving, and when white folks moved, they took their money with them. And then there was a degrading of Plainfield. And for a while, just imagine, for a while in the 70s, one of the houses, not in Sleepy Hollow, but leading up to it, that might have cost $70,000 was going for $30,000. They just wanted to go away, They just wanted to leave. Now the same house costs, $500,000.
Right.
But at the time, $70,000 was a lot of money for a house. Matter of fact, my family bought their house in 1971 for $25,000.
Oh my God!
And the same house, of course, is worth about almost $200,000 now. I've lost your sound for a second. Your
oh
mic,
no! I'm here. I muted it on purpose because I didn't want to have interference while you were talking.
Oh, that's okay. No, that's fine. So that's a snapshot of how it felt. It never felt the same after the riots, and certainly after the school riot. Not at all. As a matter of fact, I haven't felt normal in school since I've been in college. College was very different. Rutgers was very different. But I was ready for it to be different. I was not ready for the same school system I've been in for 12 years to instantly turn different.
I didn't know you went to Rutgers as well. I went to Rutgers. You went?
Wow. Yes, I went in 1970.
Wow.
And which Livingston was just being built, and there was 1 or 2 buildings there. They were converting it from the military outfit that it was. I was accepted at Princeton. I only applied to 2 schools, Princeton and Rutgers, and I was accepted at both. But my family couldn't afford to send me to Princeton because it was costing the outrageous amount of $8,000 a year. Couldn't go for that. So I went to Rutgers that cost $243 per semester.
What?
Yeah, that's what it costs. Again, you're talking about 50 years ago.
Right.
To me, that is a half century ago. I have to sit down and think, that's a half century ago. Because in my mind, the 60s were like yesterday. But if I say that, Brandon reminds me that I'm not in the 60s.
Man, so when the school riot happened, what was it like in the school? Like, what was it like? Were were you fearful? Was it? I mean, I guess you were with the African American. You said you weren't with the side, but like, I guess you weren't kind of fearful of getting hurt or anything. But like, what was going on in the school?
I'll repeat a little. Sometimes I can't remember what I write in a book. Because when you write a book, it's a couple of years of doing it. And then you have to edit down to make it fast moving. So a lot of details I might have wanted to say in the book, we can't remember if I did or did not. But at least this is the picture I have. Plainfield High School was just home. It was a wonderful old building, but for that time, not state of the art, but it was comfortable. Again, I think of it as like a mini college. It was a prep school. The attitude was the best of teachers. Many doctors were teachers there. When the riot at the high school started, the absolute start of it, I can't tell you. But I do know it started during something ironically called Brotherhood Week. It was the last week of February. And we were all supposed to be especially nice to each other. Well, on that Monday of the first week, and rumors took place. Remember, there were no phones or anything like this.
No text messaging.
Confirm or deny rumors. And there was a rumor that the Plainfield High School basketball team played some white school, and they started calling our kids names. So there was a lot of rumbling about that, the rumors in the hallway. Tuesday, there was some fight between a white kid and a black kid somewhere located in the school. Now, it very well might have happened, it might not have happened, but it turned out to be like the white kids jumped, Kevin. And then, God only knows, but the white kids were saying that these ends are getting out of control. I did mention this in the book. There were instigators for both sides. There was a group in the east end of Plainfield. The book tells the name, I can't remember them. But they were instigating the white kids. And there was two of you there.
Yeah, I'm switching computers.
There you are. You're clearer. And I think I hear you just as well.
Yeah. So you said
There was two outside groups. There was